Welcome back to the Leading Yourself podcast, and welcome to this special edition of Leading Your Career. I firmly believe that our careers aren't built in isolation. Behind every milestone, every breakthrough, and every leap forward, there are key people who have guided, challenged, and support us, whether our mentors, sponsors, leaders who have helped shape our journey. In this special podcast series, I'm sitting down with some of the most influential voices in my own career. The mentors who have given me guidance, the sponsors who have opened doors for me, and the leaders who have shaped my thinking. These are the people who have challenged me, encouraged me, and helped me grow, and now I'm bringing their wisdom to you. Through these candid career conversations, we'll dive into the pivotal moments that shape their careers and mine, the power of mentorship, sponsorship, and strategic career conversations, lessons learned from navigating change, leadership, and growth, and actionable insights to help you advance and thrive in your own career. My hope that these conversations inspire you, expand your perspective, and equip you with the tools to build a career you truly want, because the right conversations at the right time can change everything. Welcome to a new episode of the Leading Yourself podcast. Today, it's a very special episode. I have the privilege of, as a guest, one of these leaders that have played multiple of those roles in my own career, who have challenged me and encouraged me and support me and helped me grow. And my hope is that by bringing him today and having a conversation with Sujit Jain, you all are inspired, expanding your perspectives and equipping you with the tools to build your own career journey. So welcome to the podcast, Sujit. It's really a privilege to have you here. Maybe we can start. You can share a little bit of your background and how is that our paths cross? What is your background so everyone gets to know a little bit about you?
Well, thank you, Carolina, for thinking about me and inviting me to your podcast. Yes, I had a long journey at a company called Bosch, and that is where I was introduced to you, Carolina, maybe 12, 13 years ago when you came on board as head of my HR. And what a journey we had together. And you were definitely a star in my organization. And when you moved on for bigger and better things in your career. And I'm so happy and I'm so proud that I had you working in my organization to make it a success.
Thank you, Sujit. That means a lot to me because it was a big challenge, and I know you held multiple roles in different companies, but when our paths crossed at Bosch, at the time you were the president of the Powertrain Solutions division, and you really turned around the business. You play a key role in shaping the future of electrification. Now we talk about electrical vehicles as a normal thing, but I remember the days when it was a dream and we were planning on how to make that transition, and you were leading the organization at that time. And I remember I learned so much working with you and under you in terms of the business and everything that comes along with that. My first question for you is, when you started your career, when you decided to go to college and start your professional journey, how did that start? What was your vision and how did that evolve over time?
Okay. Well, I did not have a very well-defined career plan when I finished college in 1983 with a master's degree. All I knew at the time was I was extremely interested in internal combustion engines because I took elective courses in advanced combustion engines for both my undergrad and graduate studies. And the first jobs that I got out of college was to design high pressure gasoline electric fuel pumps for electronic fuel injection. That was my first job. A coincidence. So that became the foundation of my 40 years of journey, and which ultimately culminated in my running this entire $3 billion plus business in the powertrain area. So that is how it began.
Life puts opportunities in front of you that drive you in a direction, right? And it's the sequence of events that happen. But I also think it's you being ready to take those opportunities in those moments. Can you think of any pivotal moment in your career that really shaped your path?
Yes, I think I have a story to tell you. I think that will answer a lot of questions. So back in December of 2006, the Bosch Board of Management in Germany gave me the assignment to run the entire gasoline business in North America with a P&L responsibility, profit and loss responsibility. It was a $800 million money-losing business at the time. So the charter that was given to me by one of the board members in Germany was to grow the top line of the business and turn around the business to achieve profitability. And prior to that assignment, I had no experience in running a business. I had no formal education in business because I was educated as an engineer. So there became my journey, what I call it as a journey of self-discovery. It was a huge challenge for me. I was wondering, where do I start? Where do I go to find answers? So I questioned myself. I went on a self-discovery journey. Why is the business not growing? What is the root cause? I went 5 layers deep to understand. Are the customers not liking our products? Do our products not meet the customer specifications? What are the problems? And Carolina, you will be surprised to find that I found my own answers. What is ailing the business growth? And based on that discovery, I came up with what became very popular in Bosch throughout the following years, business development strategies by product. That was my own creation, I would say, for the entire portfolio of products at Bosch. I came up with very focused, action-oriented business development strategies. And for the next 3 years, we went about implementing these strategies. And guess what? The revenue growth took off. That $800 million business in 2007 reached $3 billion by 2022. And then the bigger challenge was how to turn around the loss-making operation into a profitable business. So again, I had to go on a self-discovery. I had to understand why. I discovered that the fixed costs in the business were too high compared to the revenue of the business. The SG&A spending was way over the top. Accounts receivables were running so high because accounts receivables are cash flow relevant topic. They were running so high. Customers were not being held accountable for cancelled projects. That means they were not paying up for cancelled projects. Scrap costs in the manufacturing plants were too high. And so I identified several other leaks in the business where money was just flowing out of the business. So with all these discoveries and findings, I put together with my team a get healthy strategy for the business. Actionable strategy, not just a strategy for strategy's sake. Actionable strategy. And results were evident in 2009 already, 3 years, 2007, 8, 9, when despite that year we were being hit with the deepest economic recession. You remember 2008, 2009, we had the worst of the recessions in our lifetime. My business turned a profit in that year, 2009. And so to me, that was a defining moment for me. I became a totally changed person. I did not know these skills existed within me. This knowledge existed within me. I did not go and read a book. Just the finding for me, Carolina, is that every person has these skills, has this knowledge. We have to just go and tap We have to just go and tap, and we will find the answers.
That resonates a lot, Sujit, the self-discovery. And for me, it's always been, when I look back in my career, the most defining moments when I've grown the most is what I like to say, you're thrown in the water without knowing how to swim.
Exactly.
Right? It's
Yes.
like when you're trying to prepare and plan and study more and prepare yourself for something, you're not taking action, and it's in the doing that these things start to click. And I think as human beings, we have this innate ability to figure things out, that when you're pushed to the limit in that situation, like being thrown in the water without knowing how to swim analogy, then you start to figure things out and you harness a power that you didn't knew existed in you.
Yes, totally to the point. And I think your description resonates so very well with my experience with the truth. I mean, it is phenomenal. And this is what, when I thought about the issues, this is what came about very clearly to me, is that every individual has this. Every individual has this knowledge. We just need to find a way to tap into this knowledge. Sometimes you're forced. It's a survival instinct, basically. It pushes you to think that deep.
Absolutely. I can't agree more with you. Talking about skills. A lot of us invest a lot of time going through our grad school and preparing ourselves, studying, trying to do our best to prepare ourselves for future challenges. But I think at the end of the day, when I think about what do I apply that I learn in school in my job, it's a small percentage. It's more about what you learn and the skills that you accumulate through your time working in a company, in a corporate environment, in whatever environment you're working at. When you look in your career, what do you think has been some of the most important skills that have helped you navigate your career path and be successful in all of these very relevant, big, important roles that you've held in your career?
I think I go back to what we just talked about. I think when I was given the opportunity to turn around this large business to achieve profitable growth, it felt like I was a non-swimmer, and I am a non-swimmer, by the way, who was pushed into the ocean and asked to survive. And that forced me into learning more about myself, learning skills that I did not know that I knew already. And that is what helped me to apply these skills to grow the business as well as improve the bottom line of the business. So those running of the business, I think, are the most important skills that helped me in my career. Because what happened after I achieved profitable growth, I earned the trust of the board of management of Bosch in Germany, because I did everything without being prompted by anybody. And I think that was the biggest, I would say, acknowledgement that I could get, a recognition that I could get when the board said, Sujit, you're doing such a great job. This is phenomenal. Then I gained the confidence. I could walk into any large corporation in this country and easily find at least 20% cost savings. I can say that today with confidence, that if I could do in such a large business at Bosch, I could do that in any other company. And that skill, I did not know that I had before 2007.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your journey, how you got there, the things that help you got there. And I'm a firm believer in habits and routines. It's not that something that you do once that secures your success, but is what you consistently do over time that builds into the person that you're becoming and the impact that you're able to create in an organization, in a team, in people around us. So when you think about your career, what are some of those daily habits or routines that have contributed to your success professionally and personally speaking?
I won't know cause and effect relationship between my habits and the results that I achieved. But
sometimes it's difficult to isolate, right? Because it's a combination of multiple things.
But two things that stand out, maybe which had an impact on what I was able to achieve. Number one is that for the longest time, I have been doing yoga. every day, first thing in the morning. And I feel that doing that yoga every day may have provided me a balance through the ups and downs of life, in private life, in professional life. I still do that morning yoga. So that may have helped me in my professional life. I don't know whether you call it a routine or, yeah, you can call it a routine. Connecting with people. Early in my career, I was a fairly introvert, silent kind of a guy. Midway through my career journey, I had the realization that if I was going to be serving people, because that is what a job of a president entails, is you serve the people around you, and through that you create value in the company. So if I was going to be serving people, then I needed to connect with them. And I needed to connect with them on a one-on-one basis, not on a big scale. And so that is what I started to do. And the more I did connect with the people, the more I enjoyed it, made me very happy. So that habit or that routine, as you can call it, to do connecting with people on a regular basis may have been very helpful to me in my journey.
I can definitely see that. I think it's a win-win, right? Because you get to inspire, challenge, coach, mentor people, get to know them, their needs and their frustrations and their pain points. But I think you always learn, even though you go into that connection with the intent of serving, as
Yep.
you mentioned, you always get so much back and learn so much with every interaction. I bet that was your experience as well.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah. Great. So I am sure that in your journey, there was a lot of ups and downs. You mentioned some of them as you walk us a little bit through your background and just the business challenges that you faced. How did you manage to stay motivated and focus on your goals? Because when things are going well, it's always easy, right, to ride the wave of that momentum. But I bet that when things are going not so well, when you're losing money, when there's problems everywhere, it can be very challenging. So what has been most helpful for you in those moments? Because I think when I think of you, Sujit, I think of someone who is very resilient, who is very goal oriented. Like I remember working with you that despite anything happening around and how challenging things might be, external factors that were completely out of our control, you were always so focused on the goal and driving people and getting people behind those goals and that vision that you had for what was possible. So what is your secret recipe?
Now we're getting deeper inside my DNA, Carolina. You see, I was deeply committed to fulfilling my duty for the betterment of my business, its people, and all of its stakeholders. There was a deep commitment that I made to myself, not to anybody. And I feel that deep commitment became the source of my self-motivation. So I took all actions without being prompted by anybody. Nobody asked me ever to take action, to go for this business or that business. No, because I knew that the intent behind all of my actions was always pure. It was pure. And when you know that your intent is pure, you become fearless. I was fearless. And I just kept going and going on and on, taking actions. Because you cannot stop taking actions whether you're faced with adversity or whether you're faced with a success. You have to keep going. And so you asked me the question, what was your motivation? I think that deep commitment to fulfilling my duty, deep commitment to meet the goal became my motivation, and knowing that all of my actions, and you have to have a conviction about that, my actions have a pure intent. They may look different to other people, but as long as I am truthful to myself, that my actions are pure, the intent behind the actions is pure, then you have no fear. Then adversity does not bring you down. Of course, I would be down for a moment when a business would be lost at a customer, or suddenly revenue would decline at a customer, or suddenly a customer would refuse to pay what is due to us. Of course, there was a momentary setback, but that did not deter me from keeping going because I only had one thing in mind, achieving the goal. Because I knew achieving the goal will put the company in a solid footing, the people on a solid footing. My stakeholders will be happy. So that you have to self-motivate yourself. Nobody can motivate you. And there was no incentive for me to do that. It was the only incentive for me to do was self-motivation, deep commitment.
Yeah, I love that, Sujit, because a lot of times I think a lot of people look for external motivations to keep them going. And it's really the intrinsic motivations that are that constant fuel that keeps you going. And we live in a world more and more, I think in my 20 years of career, I see this more and more where there is this tendency of always compare ourselves with others and always people please and try to, and we're so afraid of judgment and what other people might think. And I think you brought a really important point that when you are at peace with yourself and in alignment and you truly believe in your mission, in the mission that you have and the importance of that mission, not only for you as an individual, but in the broader context of the company and the communities that we operate and the world at large, right? Because that was part of the mission of the business. I think then all those things don't have power over you. They don't matter as much. You don't get pulled down by those things or second guess yourself because you have that true conviction.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That leads me to a very maybe related question. We talked about how you stay motivated on obstacles and you mentioned there were times where they were setbacks and for a moment, of course, you felt defeated, but then you stood up again. And I mentioned to you one of the words that come to my mind when I think about you is resilience. Because I've seen you and the business that you were leading going through a lot of challenges, internal challenges, external challenges, things that a lot of times were completely outside of your control. And you still had to maneuver through all of that to reach the goals. How did you approach those setbacks and failures? What was your mindset when you got into a setback to be able to be resilient and kept going despite it?
Now when I think about those times, when I reflect upon those times, I feel that perhaps through my yoga practice for a long time, I realized that success and setbacks, joy and sorrow, misery and happiness, they're all part and parcel of our life, personal or private, professional. We learn from both our successes and failures. And these learnings that we learn from successes or failures are what makes a person's character. And we learn, of course, way more from our setbacks than we do from our successes. And I have learned a lot from my setbacks as well, which I had my full share of my setbacks in my professional life. Some of those you may have seen. And through these learnings, through these blows that the society puts on you, the customers put on you, I became a much stronger and a resilient person. I became way more knowledgeable. And that is what keeps you going. That is what kept me going. Is that never give up, keep moving, keep learning, and it'll be fine. That is how I've led my professional life as well as my personal life.
When you look back in your career, and I know you have a daughter and a son that are now in the professional world, but if you could go back in time and give yourself, your younger self, or when you're having a conversation with your kids, what is the one piece of advice that you would give to them or to your younger self today?
Believe me, I get a lot of opportunities to talk to my children about their careers, about their lives, almost on a daily basis. But I would say to myself or to anybody, if to my younger self, 40 years younger, I would say follow your heart. Go wherever your heart takes you. Because deep down, your heart knows, you know what is best for you. Nobody else knows what is best for you. And be truthful to yourself and pursue work that provides you happiness and fulfillment. I used to talk to the fresh incoming associates at Bosch. I would talk to incoming interns at Bosch. I remember several times I gave them the same message. Look for work that will make you happy. Look for work that you are passionate about. Because when you pursue that kind of work, work will not be work. Work will be worship.
Yes. Such wisdom in those words. And I think I always tell people different words, but the same messages. We spend more time at work that we do doing anything else in our lives in a daily basis. And I think you always should work on something that you wake up in the morning excited to be
Yes.
part of. Something that is bigger than yourself, something that where you can see that line of sight on how you're contributing to something bigger than yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned, Sujit, you were one of the first people that came to my mind when I was thinking about doing the series of interviews, because I consider myself being very lucky and very privileged that I've had a lot of people along my career who have played different roles as mentors, coaches, sponsors, and you were one of those people in my career that always challenged me and pushed me to the water without knowing how to swim, and always was there to help me figure out things and those next steps. And I'm very grateful for that. And I thought, what if one way of adding value to everyone who listens to the podcast, which we have now about 65,000 people tuning into the podcast worldwide, how can I give them access to all this wisdom? And I'm so grateful that you were open to join today the podcast. And I would like to wrap things up with a question I always like to ask people who have inspired me throughout my career. And that is, what is the legacy that you're leaving and wanting to leave behind? I know that even though you're retired now, you're not really retired because you're still very active. You have even built a foundation. You are a board member, so many different things. But at the end of your career and your life, when you look back, what is that legacy that you hope to leave behind?
Okay, that I helped in building a strong $3 billion profitable business in North America, a company which ranked fifth in terms of market share in 2007, catapulted to the first number one position by 2022, a company where associates found ample opportunities for personal development and growth, a company where the entire senior leadership team was totally homegrown and developed, and a company that is considered a benchmark in its industry and by its peers. So that is what I think is the legacy that I'm leaving behind at Bosch. And on a personal level, I would say I got an opportunity to fulfill my duty selflessly for the betterment of the company, for the associates, and for all the stakeholders in the business. That is what I think my legacy is.
And I think it's something you should feel very proud of, because it was a huge undertaking, but looking back, it's such a growth and success and impact that it had in so many people, in the company globally, not only in North America, but also the contribution it had to the global results of the company. Sujit, I want to thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation. It was great to catch up with you. As I said, I always hold you in very high regards for how you have contributed to my own growth and the ways that you always push me out of my comfort zone. I don't think I would be where I am today if it wasn't because of that. So thank you so much. It's such a privilege to have you here in the podcast and being able to have this conversation with you. You were right when we were talking before we started recording this podcast. I did learn a couple of things about you that I didn't knew before.
Well, thank you, Carolina, for those kind words. And I also would like to reciprocate the same feelings towards you. You were such a great individual when you worked with me at Bosch, and I always held you in the highest possible regards. And I will always do that in the future.
Thank you so much, Sujit.
Thank you.
Okay, my friend, that's all I've got for you today. But before you go, 2 quick reminders. Number 1, if we're not already friends on Instagram, let's get connected. You can find me as Leading Yourself Podcast. Number 2, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am incredibly grateful that you're in this journey with me. I want to leave you with one last thought. I want to remind you that you're destined for more and that every step that you take brings you closer to becoming that best version of yourself. Embrace each day as a chance to learn, grow, and chase your dreams. The world needs you to shine brightly, so go out and show up fully and authentically. Take care, and I'll see you next time.